Have you ever given everything to a woman? Your time, your energy, your love, only to feel her drifting further away the more you gave? That quiet heartbreak isn't rare. It's the silent tragedy most men live through. They don't lose women because they're cruel. They lose them because, little by little, they erase themselves. It starts small. You skip the gym because she wants you home. You cancel nights out with your boys to prove you're loyal. You change your style, your voice, even your dreams, just to match hers. You cover the bills, plan every date, chase every text, and call it devotion. But deep down, you feel drained. You feel invisible. And the cruel irony? The very sacrifices you believe will keep her close are the exact things that push her away. Here's the truth. It's not kindness that kills attraction. It's the death of your boundaries. When your whole world spins only around her, your identity disappears. And when your identity disappears, so does her respect. That's the trap almost every good man falls into. And that's why this message matters. Today, I'm breaking down 8 brutal traps that look like love but act like poison. Traps that dissolve self-respect, crush independence, and turn a strong man into someone begging for approval. But I'm not here to just warn you. I'll show you the rules, the words, and the real-life examples so you know exactly how to stand firm and still give the kind of love women truly crave. Stay with me until the end, because once you see these traps, you'll never see dating the same way again. The first trap most men fall into is what I call the boundary blackout. It starts innocent. She asks you to skip one night out with your boys because she wants to see you. You tell yourself, it's no big deal. Next week it happens again. Soon your calendar doesn't look like your calendar anymore. It looks like hers. Attention shifts, and you begin to measure love by how much of yourself you can erase. That's the blackout. Not the moment you compromise once, but the slow pattern of sacrificing your identity until there's nothing left to respect. The conflict is brutal. You think bending makes you a better partner. But bending too far doesn't prove love. It proves weakness. Not strength, but fragility. Not devotion, but desperation. And here's the paradox. The more you give up your boundaries to hold on to her, the more she loses the very attraction that brought her close in the first place. The insight is clear. Boundaries aren't walls that block intimacy. They are the frame that makes intimacy possible. Without them, there's no you, only a shape that changes to avoid rejection. A man without boundaries isn't flexible. He's invisible. And invisibility never creates desire. Let me demonstrate. Imagine a guy named Jake. Every Wednesday he plays basketball with his friends. His girlfriend hints she'd rather he cancel. He agrees once, then again. 2 months later, his friendships are gone. His mood is flat, and she's less interested than ever. Why? Because what attracted her was his independence, his drive, his balance. When those vanished, so did her respect. Now loop back. The trap convinces you that skipping your needs is love. But real love isn't her owning all your time. Real love is her knowing you have a life, a backbone, and a schedule worth respecting. And when you state it clearly, I'd love to see you, but Wednesday nights are for basketball. Let's plan Friday instead. You don't push her away. You make yourself a man who is worth leaning on. The second trap is what I call the all-in integration. This is when you let a relationship swallow your entire life. At first, it feels romantic. You drop your hobbies, your passions, your music, your workouts, because being with her feels more important. Attention narrows. Your world shrinks, and soon the only thing left is her. You think this proves you care, but what it really proves is that you no longer exist without her. Here's the conflict. You believe making her your whole universe shows depth. But the truth, not depth, but emptiness. Not love, but dependency. A man who abandons his friendships, his goals, his balance, doesn't become more attractive. He becomes heavier, harder to love, a weight she has to carry instead of a partner she can admire. The insight is simple. Your hobbies and your crew aren't distractions. They are nutrients. They keep you interesting, resilient, and alive. Integration doesn't make you closer. It makes you fragile, and fragility breeds resentment, not connection. Let's demonstrate. Think of Mark. He used to play guitar, lift weights, and hang with his friends. Then he met someone and made her his everything. 6 months in, he was bored. She was distant, and the spark was gone. Why? Because the version she fell for, the passionate, vibrant, independent man, had disappeared. All she was left with was a man orbiting her, waiting for direction. Loop it back. The trap tells you that prioritizing her above everything equals love. But what she really wants is not a man who erases his life, but a man whose life is so full that she feels lucky to be part of it. That's why you need the balance rule. Imagine your life as 4 pillars: friendships, passions, family, and relationship. Each should get a share. If one pillar hogs more than half, the structure collapses. Integration overload doesn't create closeness. It creates collapse. Balance is what keeps attraction alive. The third trap is the chase spiral. It begins when she pulls back and you panic. She takes longer to reply. She seems distracted. She cancels plans. Instead of reading the signal, you double down. You text more. You plan harder. You give extra effort, hoping persistence will fix distance. But the harder you chase, the faster she runs. That's the spiral. Your pursuit fuels her withdrawal, which fuels even more pursuit, until all that's left is desperation. Here's the conflict. You think chasing proves commitment, but chasing doesn't show strength. It shows fear. Not confidence, but scarcity. Not love, but pressure. And pressure is the fastest way to suffocate attraction. The insight is this: when someone pulls away, it isn't always rejection. It's information. It tells you where their interest really is. If you flood that space with pursuit, you drown the truth. But if you hold back, you create room for real desire to return. Interest grows in space, not in suffocation. Let me demonstrate. Picture Alex. He met a woman he liked and thought things were going well. Then she got slower on texts. Instead of waiting, he fired off 7 messages in a single day. Her response? Silence. Why? Because what she felt wasn't love knocking at her door, but pressure closing in. If he had stepped back, she might have had space to miss him. Instead, his over-pursuit confirmed her doubt. Loop back. The trap tells you that more effort equals more love. But in reality, effort doesn't create attraction. It only maintains it if it already exists. That's why you need the 2-1 rule. For every 2 times you reach out, she should respond with at least 1 genuine initiation. If that balance isn't there, stop chasing. Because real connection is 2 people moving toward each other, not one person sprinting while the other walks away. The 4th trap is the fixer illusion. It sneaks in when you stop seeing her as a partner and start seeing her as a project. You notice her flaws, her struggles, her bad habits, and you convince yourself that if you just guide her, teach her, improve her, then she'll become the perfect partner. It feels noble, even loving. But what you don't realize is that every time you step into the fixer role, you step out of the role of a man she can truly desire. Here's the conflict. You believe fixing proves love. But fixing doesn't show care. It shows control. Not support, but superiority. Not intimacy, but therapy. And therapy kills attraction. Because the moment she feels you see her as broken, she can't see you as her equal. The insight is simple. Real intimacy isn't built on constant correction. It's built on acceptance. Attraction lives between equals, not between a coach and a client. When you try to shape her into who you think she should be, you aren't loving her. You're rejecting her as she is. And rejection, even dressed as help, always breeds resistance. Let's demonstrate. Imagine Chris. He starts dating a woman who drinks a little too much. Instead of accepting or deciding he's not okay with it, he makes it his mission to fix her. He lectures, he sets rules, he monitors her choices. At first she tolerates it, but soon she grows resentful. The romance fades, the sexual energy dies, and in the end, she leaves. Not because she didn't want growth, but because she didn't want a babysitter. Loop back. The trap tells you that guiding her into a better version of herself is the ultimate form of love. But the truth? Love doesn't mean changing someone. It means choosing them as they are. If who she is today doesn't work for you, the answer isn't to fix her. The answer is to walk away. Because the woman who's right for you won't need a manager. She'll need a partner. The fifth trap is the overgiver's curse. It begins with good intentions. You want to show effort, so you give more time, more money, more emotion, more initiative than she ever returns. At first, it feels generous. It feels like you're building love with sheer dedication. But slowly, the curse sets in. You stop being a partner and start being a provider of free benefits. She doesn't have to contribute because you've trained her that everything flows one way, your way. Here's the conflict. You believe giving more proves value, but overgiving doesn't signal worth. It signals insecurity. Not generosity, but fear. Not love, but imbalance. And imbalance is poison to attraction because people only value what they also invest in. The insight is this: healthy relationships require reciprocity. She needs to give, serve, and contribute just as you do. When you overfunction, you rob her of the chance to build real attachment. Because connection doesn't come from receiving, it comes from giving. Let's demonstrate. Take Daniel. Every date he pays, every plan he makes, every emotional check-in he initiates. She enjoys the ride, but never once has to lift a finger. After a few months, he's exhausted, she's entitled, and neither feels true connection. Why? Because his overgiving didn't make her appreciate him more. It made her expect him more. He thought he was buying love. In reality, he was teaching her to take without giving. Now, loop back. The trap tells you that pouring more effort guarantees more love. But love doesn't grow from one-sided sacrifice. It grows from balanced exchange. That's why you need the reciprocity index. Score yourself and her from 1 to 5 in 4 areas: time, money, emotion, initiative. If your average is always 4 or 5 while hers stays at 2 or below, you're not in love. You're in charity. And charity kills desire. Because attraction doesn't bloom where only one person is planting seeds. The sixth trap is the identity swap. This is when you stop being yourself and start performing a role you think she wants. At first, it feels harmless. She hints she likes a certain style, so you change how you dress. She prefers a calmer vibe, so you mute your humor. She shares her opinions, and you nod even when you disagree. One compromise becomes 2. 2 become 10, and before long you're not you anymore. You're a character she designed, and the man she was drawn to in the first place has vanished. Here's the conflict. You believe adapting makes you compatible, but adapting too far doesn't prove flexibility. it proves insecurity. Not alignment, but submission. Not love, but self-erasure. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who cannot stand as himself. The insight is sharp. Real compatibility isn't built by constant adjustment. It's built by authenticity. Attraction depends on who you truly are, not on a mask you wear to win approval. When you reshape yourself around someone else, you create fake harmony. Fake harmony isn't sustainable. It cracks, it exhausts you, and eventually it destroys respect. Let's demonstrate. Picture Ryan. When he met his girlfriend, he was a rocker. Leather jacket, late-night gigs, loud opinions. She said she preferred corporate men, so he cut his hair, bought suits, swallowed his voice. 6 months later, he thought he had become her dream. But the irony? She left. Why? Because the version she wanted didn't feel real, and the man she first desired had disappeared. Loop back. The trap tells you that changing yourself keeps love alive. But the truth? Real love doesn't demand constant reinvention. It demands honesty. That's why you need the authenticity test. Ask yourself before any change. If she weren't in my life, would I still do this? If the answer is no, you're not evolving. You're dissolving. And dissolving your identity doesn't make you lovable. It makes you forgettable. The 7th trap is the solo builder. It's when you take full responsibility for every piece of the relationship. You plan every date, start every conversation, solve every conflict, cover every expense. At first, it feels like leadership. You tell yourself you're proving capability. But slowly, the weight grows. You're not building with her, you're building for her. And when only one person builds, the foundation always cracks. Here's the conflict. You think handling everything makes you dependable. But doing it all doesn't show strength. It shows imbalance. Not leadership, but control. Not generosity, but exhaustion. Because a true partnership isn't one person carrying the load, while the other just enjoys the ride. The insight is this: respect doesn't come from being a one-man show. Respect comes when both people contribute, when she invests her energy alongside yours. If you rob her of that chance, she never develops attachment, because people don't value what they never help create. Let's demonstrate. Imagine Kevin, every date he organized, every bill he paid, every tough talk he initiated. His girlfriend liked the comfort but never invested. When the relationship ended, Kevin was bitter and drained. She was indifferent. Why? Because she had no ownership. He had built the entire house, but she never laid a single brick. And you can't value a home you never helped build. Loop back. The trap convinces you that taking all responsibility makes you a hero. But in reality, it makes you disposable. That's why you need the 3-1 leadership rule. Out of every 4 moments of leadership, she should take at least 1, whether that's planning, initiating, or problem solving. If she never does, you're not partners. You're parent and child. And no woman stays attracted to a man she secretly experiences as her father. The 8th trap is the attraction negotiator. It shows up when you start believing attraction is something you can earn. You think if you're nice enough, patient enough, loyal enough, then she will eventually feel what you hope she feels. Every favor, every gift, every late-night talk becomes part of your invisible contract. If I do this, she must choose me. But attraction doesn't work like a contract. It's not negotiated, it's felt. Here's the conflict. You believe consistent effort will generate desire, but effort doesn't create attraction. It only sustains it when it's already there. Not devotion, but denial. Not persistence, but pressure. And pressure turns what could have been chemistry into obligation. Obligation never sparks passion. The insight is sharp. Attraction is primal. subconscious, non-negotiable. You can't argue someone into wanting you. You can't buy it, beg for it, or perform your way into it. The only thing you can do is show up as who you are and see if the spark exists. If it doesn't, no amount of proof will manufacture it. Let's demonstrate. Think of Tyler. He met a woman who saw him as just a friend. Instead of accepting that reality, he spent months doing favors, listening to problems, always available, hoping she'd wake up one day. But she never did. Why? Because what she felt was gratitude, not attraction. Gratitude doesn't convert to desire. Tyler wasn't building romance. He was negotiating value he already had. Loop back. The trap convinces you that attraction is a reward you can earn through behavior. But the truth? Real attraction is instant recognition, not delayed approval. That's why you need the walk-away rule. If you sense her interest isn't matching yours after reasonable time and effort, step back. Don't bargain for attraction. Because the woman who is truly into you won't need convincing. She'll meet you halfway. We've uncovered 8 traps that look like love, but act like poison. Each one feels right in the moment, giving more, fixing, chasing, erasing yourself. But each one guarantees the slow death of attraction. The reality is simple. The wrong person will never become right through sacrifice. Not through time, not through effort, not through devotion. Here's the truth. Real love doesn't demand you dissolve. Real love requires you to stand firm. Not boundaries as selfishness, but boundaries as self-respect. Not independence as distance, but independence as strength. The woman who's right for you won't ask you to erase your life. She'll want to share in the life you've already built. So if these traps sounded familiar, take it as your wake-up call. Stop trading your identity for approval. Stop mistaking desperation for love. Because the moment you keep your backbone, your balance, and your boundaries, you stop being tolerated, and you start being respected. And if you're ready to go deeper, hit subscribe right now. Because the next video will show you exactly how to set boundaries without losing warmth, the skill every man needs. Share this with a brother who's been giving too much or chasing too hard, because awareness spreads strength. Love isn't about disappearing into someone else's world. It's about 2 whole people choosing each other freely. Hold your ground, protect your value, and watch how the right woman leans in. Not because you begged, but because you finally stood tall.